Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Inevitable, and this is the Calm Face Violent Ambition podcast, where I'll be speaking about literally anything that sparks my interest and sharing my opinion on it. Thanks once again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the video. So today we're going to speak about something that has also affected me on a huge scale for like the longest part of my life, because I do believe that for the longest part of my life I've lived in this kind of state, you know, and quite recently I have come out of that state, and I have to thank God for that. I also have to thank my twin flame for that, because she really brought out the parts of me that I really had to face in the mirror, you know. So for that I'm very grateful for. But now it's also a topic that I'm also beginning to find material to teach myself on, to educate myself on. And I thought, you know what, I learn, I might as well share with those who might also need to learn about this. All right. So, what we're going to be speaking about essentially is healing the masculine wound, and specifically how breaking cycles of silence and shame can transform identity, relationships, and society. All right. I'm sure you've heard about this before. The masculine wound is the deep, often unspoken pain carried by men across generations. It is the wound of silence, being told not to cry, not to feel, not to show vulnerability. It is the wound of shame, believing that weakness is failure, that sensitivity is weakness, and that love must be earned through performance. These wounds are not just personal, they are cultural. They shape how men see themselves, how they relate to others, and how they pass down beliefs to the next generation. Healing the masculine wound means breaking cycles of silence and shame, reclaiming dignity and redefining strength. It is about restoring balance to masculinity, allowing it to be both stronger and tender, protective and vulnerable, disciplined and compassionate. Section 1. Silence as a cycle. Silence is often taught as strength, but in reality it becomes a prison. Boys are told to man up, to hide their tears, to swallow their pain. This silence grows into adulthood, creating men who struggle to express emotions, connect deeply, or even ask for help. What begins as a lesson in toughness becomes a lifelong barrier to intimacy and authenticity. Point number 1. Silence disconnects men from their own emotions, making it difficult to process grief, fear, or longing. Over time, this emotional disconnection can manifest as strength, as stress, my apologies, depression, or even physical illness. It creates distance. Point number 2. It creates distance in relationships because vulnerability is the bridge to intimacy, and silence removes that bridge. Partners, children, friends often feel shut out, unable to reach the man behind the mask. Point number 3. Generationally, silence is passed down. Fathers who never spoke of their pain raise sons who learn to do the same. This cycle perpetuates emotional isolation across families. Silence may look like strength, but it is often the mask of fear, a fear of being seen. So healing begins by breaking silence, by speaking, by naming pain, by allowing vulnerability to exist without shame. Silence loses its power when it is replaced with truth, and truth opens the door to connection. Alright, so I'd really love to hear your thoughts on section 1, silence as a cycle. Alright, how has this impacted your life? You can just drop it in the comments. Alright, moving into section 2, shame as a burden. Shame is the companion of silence. It tells men that they are not enough, that their worth depends on performance, and that failure makes them unworthy of love. Shame is heavy, and it distorts identity, convincing men to wear masks instead of living authentically. Point number 1. Shame convinces men to hide parts of themselves, creating personas that conceal their true emotions. This mask may look confident, but underneath lies insecurity and fear. Point number 2. It drives perfectionism, aggression, or withdrawal, all of which damage relationships and self-worth. Men may overlook, lash out, or retreat into isolation, all in an attempt to escape shame. Shame often originates in childhood, moments when boys were mocked for crying, punished for sensitivity, or told to be tougher. These early wounds echo into adulthood, shaping behavior and beliefs. Shame whispers, "You are not enough." Healing answers, "You are worthy as you are," without condition. So healing the masculine wound requires confronting shame, replacing it with acceptance, and learning that worth is not earned, it is inherent. Freedom begins when men stop measuring themselves against impossible standards and embrace the humanity. All right. So I'd really love to hear your thoughts on section 2, shame as a burden, and how has shame impacted you in certain areas of your life. You can just let me know in the comments, and I assure you I will be reading through each and every one. All right. Section 3, redefining strength. True strength is not silence or suppression. It is integration. Healing the masculine wound means redefining strength as the ability to feel, to express, and to connect. Strength is not about domination, it is about authenticity. Point number 1. Strength is the courage to be vulnerable, to admit weakness, and to ask for help. This courage dismantles the myth that men must always carry burdens alone. Point number 2. It is the resilience to face pain honestly, rather than bearing it under anger or denial. Resilience comes not from avoidance, but from confronting reality with openness. Point number 3. Strength is relational. It shows up in the ability to love deeply, to protect without domination, and to lead with compassion. It is expressed in tenderness as much as in confidence, in toughness. Strength is not the absence of weakness, it is the presence of authenticity, the willingness to be real. So healing redefines strength, teaching men that vulnerability is not weakness, but the deepest form of courage. Strength becomes wholeness, not suppression. Alright, so that was section 3, redefining strength. And I'd love to hear your opinion on that. What do you think about strength being authenticity? What do you think about strength being the ability to express how you feel without shame? You know, I think that is true strength. Being able to articulate how you feel about a certain situation or a certain person without feeling shame. For me, that is strength. All right. Section 4, breaking the cycle. Healing the masculine wound is not just personal, it is generational. Breaking cycles of silence and shame transforms families, communities, and cultures. Every man who heals himself changes the story of masculinity for those who come after him. Point number 1. Men who heal themselves model vulnerability for their sons, teaching them that emotions are not just enemies, but guides. This reshapes fatherhood into a space of openness and trust. Point number 2. They create healthier relationships because openness builds trust and intimacy. Partners feel seen, children feel heard, and friendships deepen. Point number 3. Healing breaks cultural patterns, challenging stereotypes of masculinity that equate dominance with worth. It redefines masculinity as dignity, compassion, and authenticity. Breaking the cycle means choosing dignity over denial, authenticity over silence, and love over shame. So healing the masculine wound is not just about one man. It is about reshaping the story of masculinity for generations to come. It is about building a culture where men are free to be whole. Alright? So that was section 4, breaking the cycle. I'd really love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think this is something that you could do for yourself and for the rest of masculinity and manhood? Let me know in the comments. Alright, so like I do in all my videos, I have included some golden nuggets in how you can go ahead and integrate this insight into your daily life and your daily doings. Alright, so I've got some few practical steps here that I'd like to share with you. And yeah, let's dive into it. So, step number 1, name the wound. Begin by acknowledging the silence and the shame you carry. Journaling, therapy, or honest conversations can help bring hidden pain into the light. Naming the wound is the first act of courage. Step number 2, practice vulnerability. Share emotions with trusted friends, partners, or mentors. Vulnerability builds connection and dismantles the lie that men must always be strong. Start small. Share fear, a hope, or a moment of weakness, and notice how it deepens relationships. Step number 3. Challenge shame. When shame whispers, you are not enough, respond with affirmations of worth. Replace negative self talk with truths that honor your dignity. For example, remind yourself, my value is not in what I achieve, but in who I am. Step number 4. Redefine strength. Engage in practices that integrate body, mind, and spirit. Exercise, meditation, and creative expression. Strength is holistic, not just physical. It is the ability to balance discipline with compassion, toughness with tenderness. Break generational silence. Speak openly with children, siblings, or peers about emotions. Model honesty and vulnerability, showing that masculinity includes tenderness. A father who tells his son, it's okay to cry, plants seeds of healing for the future. Seek community. Healing is not just solitary. Join men's groups, spiritual circles, or communities that encourage openness and accountability. Collective healing reinforces personal growth, reminding men that they are not alone in their journey. All right? By practicing these steps, men begin to break the cycles of silence and shame. Healing the masculine wound is not about rejecting masculinity, it is about reclaiming it in its fullness. The benefit is freedom, the freedom to feel, to connect, and to live authentically without fear. All right? So, those are my practical steps. Let me know. Do you feel like this is something that would help you in your life? Give it a try and let me know in the comments. All right. So, I'll leave you with this reflection. What does healing the masculine wound mean to you, and how can breaking silence and shame transform your life? Think about it, share it, and let's explore together how redefining masculinity can bring dignity, love, and authenticity back into our lives. I'd really love to hear your perspective on this. Drop your thoughts in the comments. How have silence and shame shaped your journey, and what steps have helped you heal? Your commentary really does add to the conversation, and together I know we can build a deeper understanding of masculinity and healing and what it means to us. Alright, so I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. If you enjoyed my insight, go ahead and leave me a like. And if you're interested in hearing more about what I have to share on this channel, then you can subscribe as well. And once again, I am inevitable, and this is the Calm Face Violent Ambition podcast. Have a wonderful rest of your day.